Guys, let's talk about sword fishing. Really important here, the most technical of all fisheries. I'm telling you what, daytime sword fishing, so many moving parts, fishing in water 1,500 to 2,000 feet deep, presenting a bait with over 2,000 revolutions of line out. Obviously, a lot of lead, anywhere from 10 to 15 pounds of lead, trying to detect that one bite from a fish that may be 50 or 500 pounds. Super, super exciting, super rewarding, but also, as I mentioned, one of the most challenging fisheries that there is. Equipment is absolutely vital here, okay? And it starts with the reel. There's some different options. I like the Hooker Electric on the Tiagra 80. This is the Gen 2. Why do I choose this reel? Look, there's some other great reels out there. The LP, the Lingren Pitman, is an absolute workhorse. It's a winch, okay? Incredibly reliable. It has set the standard for what a daytime swordfish reel should be. But it's very, very heavy, okay? Not very mobile, not very user-friendly as far as size and weight is concerned. The Hooker on the Tiagra 80 is much more maneuverable, much lighter, easier to get around the deck. So that's one reason I really like this. Number two, I've got the manual handle. So if I want to use the power feature and use the motor and reel, I can do that. But if I want to crank, I can do that as well. And we're going to talk about how to do that in a minute. All right. Now, very fast. That's another thing that you've got to keep in mind, and that I really appreciate about this reel is it's super fast. So when I'm bringing up that lead off the bottom and I'm just checking my bait, going up for another drift, whatever it may be, I'm not wasting time. I'm getting that bait up as quickly as I possibly can, okay? So in this particular case, this is my buoy rod. How do I know that? I've got a mark right on the line, says buoy 14, 15, 16. So I've got 3 different buoy bridles at the 14, 15, 1600 depth range, so I could set my bait appropriately. That's how I know that's my buoy rod, because my tip rod's exactly the same outfit. So from the outside in, you really can't tell the difference until you get down to the buoy bridles. The reel is matched to a Chaos Gold 80 to 100 pound class, 6-foot swordfish rod, medium heavy kind of class. Let me tell you something. This is gonna get you through on 90% of the scenarios. If it's really rough, you may want a shorter or stiffer rod that's going to be able to detect those bites a little bit better without absorbing everything in that action of the boat bobbing up and down when it's choppy. If it's flat calm, you can get away with a lighter class rod, certainly in very low current scenarios. But for 90% of the scenarios, this is what I'm going to choose. This is what I'm going to fish. Crucial to this outfit is this Winthrop bent butt, okay? I could adjust the rod. Look at this, look at all of these positions. 10 different positions, and then simply lock it in with a pin. So that Winthrop adjustable butt is not optional, it should be absolutely mandatory in your swordfish outfits. The reel is loaded with diamond braid, either 80 pound on my buoy rod, 65 pound on my tip rod, okay? Because I can get away with a little bit lighter. I want a little bit lighter on the tip rod. In either scenario, how you spool this Hooker Electric is really important. Chances are you're gonna get this reel from Chaos Fishing. They'll load it for you. But if you wanna do it yourself, or if you wanna just really be sure it's being done right, look, you've gotta take the level wind off. There's a little screw right there. You can't miss it, I promise you. It's one little screw. That mechanism slides right off. Now what you wanna do is fill that reel 3/4 of the way, 2/3 to 3/4, but under a lot of load, 20 to 25 pounds of drag, okay? You wanna put that braid on that reel tight. You wanna pack it. No mono backing. Mono expands, could jam the spool, it could literally seize. So no mono backing, straight mono, 3/4 of the way, by hand, aggressively going back and forth to avoid the line sinking in and cutting into itself. So you really want to go back and forth pretty aggressively when you're loading that reel. And again, I have to stress, minimum 20 to 25 pounds of drag. You really want that on there pretty tight. Once you're 3/4 of the way, then you can reassemble the level wind. All you got to do is slide that mechanism back on the worm, okay? Tighten that screw, which is right there, super simple. Then put the line right in between the feeder right there, and now you can completely finish filling the reel with the level one. If you don't do that, your reel is going to be like this. You're going to have a big indentation of line at the bottom of your spool. It's not going to be level. So remember, 3/4 of the way by hand, the rest of the way with the level wind. Now, how do you operate the reel? First and foremost, make sure that the button that we typically use to engage low gear on a 2-speed reel, right there at the base of the handle, if that's pushed in, you now are turning that handle manually. You're turning that reel manually. And if I turn the reel on, that handle's gonna spin, and if my hand is right there, I'm gonna bust up my knuckles. Trust me, I've done this the wrong way. I've learned the hard way. You will too. So take it from me, before you even turn the reel on, make sure that you're disengaged and that handle is turning freely. Once you plug the reel in, you're gonna hear a sequence of beeps. Beep, 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 beep. It's gonna come to life. You're then gonna see the Hooker Electric logo right there in the little LCD screen. Right on the side of the reel is one button right there. Push that button just for a second or two. It's gonna zero out the reel. This is my 0 point, meaning as I let line out, no matter how much line I let out, obviously that counter is going backwards. When I now go to retrieve line, it's gonna automatically stop at that 0 point. Remember to give yourself a little bit of leeway. You don't want that 0 point to be right at the rod tip, because if you reel up and it stops or it overruns just a little bit, you can literally lose your entire rig. So give yourself a little bit of extra leeway. Remember that this dial, the variable speed right here, as I turn it toward me, I'm increasing speed. So watch what happens. I'm slowly gonna turn it toward me, and look at that reel. Obviously, I don't have a lot of drag on the reel, but the more, you can hear that motor ramping up, right? All the way to full speed, okay? It's not retrieving because I have very light drag, just for the sake of this display. If I push the knob away from me, the reel will slow down and ultimately stop. It's that simple, okay? Remember, very fast, if you're bringing up a bait, a lead, you're going up the reset, bring up the rig as fast as you can bring it up. If you're bringing up a fish, it's a game of inches. It's finesse. It's not sock down the drag, crank up the speed, and hope you're gonna bring that fish to the boat. It's not gonna happen like that. It's a game of give and take your time, finesse, okay? Now, let's say your reel unplugs or something like that and you lose power, don't worry about it, not a big deal. Plug the reel back in, hold the button on the side just for a couple seconds, even 1 second, and the reel now will go into negative mode, allow you to retrieve line with the numbers counting backwards. So the reel will continue to work until you get all the way back to the starting point. At that stage, just hold that button in for 6 seconds and the reel will zero out again. Very, very easy. Little bit of getting used to, but once you're dialed in, boom, you're good to go. Keep your fingers where they belong. You see this level line right there? That is not forgiving in any way. You get your fingers stuck in there in between that worm gear, I'm telling you what, you're gonna know it and you'll never do it again. So be very careful, operate the reel from here, not from up here, okay? Remember, we've got a drag, obviously use that drag. And once again, if I wanna crank on the fish manually, I simply push the button and now I'm fighting the fish manually. If I wanna use the motor, I obviously disengage, and I'm gonna show you real quickly here what happens if you don't do it the right way. Okay, so clearly, right now our handle is engaged. I'm gonna apply a little drag, I'm gonna turn up the speed, and imagine if your hand was right there, boom. Okay, you're gonna bust up your knuckles. So make sure that that's now in, I don't wanna call it free spool, but that the handle is disengaged, and now look what happens when I retrieve, okay? The handle doesn't move. Great feature. Take care of this reel. Corrosion block. I put a little bit of grease on the worm right there, a little bit of oil on the moving parts, okay? You really have to take care of this reel. There's electrical components, but I'll tell you what, it is a workhorse. It is absolutely my choice in daytime swordfish reels, even though there's some other great options. As I mentioned, the LP. Crystal Fishing has some great reels. There's some other ones out there. But for me, this is the best combination of everything that I'm looking for. And combined with the 80 to 100 pound class Chaos rod, the diamond braid yard line, which I want to mention, that yard line segmented by 50 feet, that's a huge tool. That's how I'm able to set my bridle buoys at different depths by using that sectioned line. Every section 50 feet, if I want my bridles 100 feet apart, 2 sections bridle, 2 sections bridle, just makes it very, very easy. Okay, you don't have to load the entire reel with the yard line. You're not trying to gauge the entire depth of rotations, but that is a very big benefit when it comes to tying the bridle buoys, is having that segmented line. Big, big benefit. That's it right there. I'll tell you what, finally, look, you can see I've got my rod clipped in with the big game leash. Guys, you've seen these wahoo fishing a lot. Stainless steel carabiner at the end, 9-foot retractable cord. You don't want to lose this expensive tackle. You're talking about almost $7,000 to $9,000 for a swordfish rod and reel. You don't want to lose that over the side, and that's where that big game leash comes into play. Mounted under the gunnel, you don't see it. It's there when you need it. It's not when you don't. There's no dangerous cords lying around the deck. I'm telling you what, like I said, you've seen these wahoo fishing. We clip all of our wahoo rods to it, but we also clip our daytime swordfish rods. So much more to daytime sword fishing, rigging baits we're gonna talk about, setting the spread, fishing a buoy rod, all kinds of good stuff. But it all, like I said, it starts with that reel right there. Practice at the dock. Okay, get fully dialed in before you get out there, because out on the ocean when you're hooked up to a beast is not the time to figure out what each button does. Not a lot going on here, but you need to know the equipment, all right? Guys, that's it. Catch up on all of the segments of Captain Mike's rigging station. Take a little bit away from each one. You're gonna be a more successful angler. This wind's about to lay down. I'm going sword fishing.